This is Horton Square. Now, some of the names we've used are historic names in Jekyll's history. Horton was one of the first settlers on the island, and Captain Horton, and this is named for him. We can name these things anything that you want to. These are just some of our ideas about some of the names. And this, again, is a public use area, big public use area. So that if you have people that you're meeting on the beach, maybe you've sent the kids down to the beach while you wanted to walk up in here and, you know, and look at some retail shops, and then tell them, I'll meet you back here at the square here in an hour. You know, this is a place where you can do that, a great focal point for that. And again, have music events here. You could have art show type things up in these pavilions, even farmers market types of things. Next slide. Out here on this area, adjacent to the park, this area right in where Beachview Drive is today, we would propose putting or expanding a freshwater wetland in here. There's a small wetland in there today behind the retail shopping center. We're talking about expanding that a little bit, giving it a little more breathing room in there, and allowing a place for water to run off as well, off of some of these places that can be filtered out through these areas. And we'll talk about the water and recapture and what we're going to do with that in a minute. Next slide. The hotel, Vail's Call. There's Theodore Vail's name coming up again. We call this neighborhood around the new hotel and the new convention center Vail's Call. You know, it's kind of a catchy, unusual name for that little neighborhood, with a hotel that would look a lot like the existing Jekyll Island Club Hotel and would be just down the road from it there on Shell Road and up against the historic golf course there. Next slide. The north and south colony of these little cottages. These are all open spaces. These are sidewalks, all permeable surfaces, bicycle and pedestrian trails in this group of cottages in here. All of these areas would be completely open. Nothing gated, nothing closed off to anybody. People can walk through these neighborhoods anytime, any place, anytime that they want to. Environmental aspects of these neighborhoods. Again, 65% of the island remains undeveloped by law. Green space is a significant percentage of the village site. About 40% of the village site is green space in between the buildings, along the streets, all these walkways. These are big rain barrels here. These rain barrels, so that every bit of water that runs off of these pitched roofs will run into rain barrels, into rain capture systems, into swales, and then all that water is recaptured through systems that are underground. That's expensive to do, but we think it's really important to do, to recapture this water and reuse it for irrigation, on the golf courses, on the lawns, all kinds of other areas. You can reuse that. The buildings must meet or exceed LEED standards. LEED standards. With us today is Gray Kelly. Where are you, Gray? There he is over there. He is with South Face Energy Institute. And South Face is one of these great organizations that has helped create standards for development all over Georgia, and particularly these new standards that we call Earthcraft Community Standards for coastal communities. And over the past 3, 4, 5 years, they worked with a lot of stakeholders to come up with those new standards. This will be the first place that those have been used in a major way. They've been used in Savannah on one project. This will be the next really big place where they'll be used in a significant way. This is a big deal. We hope that not only is it good for just the environment of Jekyll, but what this will do is set a standard for development for the rest of the coast, so that other coastal communities and developers will say, gosh, we need to do what they're doing at Jekyll. You know, boy, isn't it great what they've done at Jekyll? You know, or a county commission asks a developer, gee, are you doing anything that's comparable to what they're doing over at Jekyll with regard to coastal community standards? You know, kind of put that back on the developers to meet those kinds of standards. I mean, what a great legacy Jekyll would leave, setting a standard, setting a new standard for the environment on the coast. And the removal of existing impervious lots. This means that throughout these cottage community areas, throughout all of this village, all the surfaces would be permeable surfaces. Those that are not rooftops would be permeable surfaces. That means crushed shell, it means pavers of all kinds of ways for the water to run through, even the little streets that are running through there, in the parking facilities as well. That's really important. We think that's really critical to make happen. The lodging in the village. Economy hotel, 125 rooms. A mid-scale hotel, 200 rooms. Convention hotel, 400 rooms. Now, we may change some of these numbers as time goes by or tweak them a little bit, but this is our beginning plan. These vacation cottages with 227 units with 50 additional units above the retail space. These units are located in 66 buildings in the South Colony. These numbers need to be switched. In the South Colony, and 13 buildings in the North Colony. The Vacation Club would then have 160 units. Now, the Vacation Club is timeshares. You know, and I remember from the 1970s when timeshares, ooh, wasn't that a dirty word back in the 70s? That industry changed dramatically in the 1980s when Marriott and Disney got into that business, and they changed it dramatically. It's become is a place where there are some people that's what they want, and they think that it's a great value for them to buy 7 days, and it's 7 days for the rest of their lives, for $16,000. I mean, that's kind of one of the price points that we've seen. 7 days for the rest of my life, I can call up, make a reservation for any week that they've got available, any time that kind of fits my schedule and what they've got available, and schedule that 7-day period. What's important about the timeshares are the economics to the community. Those people who come to the average hotel room has 2.1 people, and they stay an average of 2.8 days. These timeshares have 5.2 people, I don't know who the 0.2 is, 5.2 people that stay 7 days, and they spend 40% more money, and they are 90% occupied. Now, what's important about that are those people who are in those little retail shops. My gosh, those folks down at Jekyll today, I mean, they've been hanging on, you know, for dear life for the past 20 years, you know, just trying to make it with the pharmacy and the IGA and those things. And you can imagine what it's like in the off-season for those people. I mean, they are really struggling. These timeshare folks give them income that really straightens that out during the seasonal. It helps manage that seasonality problem. The reason people spend 40% more that come in on the timeshares, they don't have a bill at checkout like a hotel room. They've already paid. So they're coming down and they're ready to have fun. And they're ready to go out to dinner and do all those other things. So that's why they spend more money in the retail shop. All of this does not affect existing hotels, which will continue operation at current rates. Next slide. The architecture of these buildings. We're extending the signature architecture of the historic district with some of these cottages and the styles of these things. Historic architecture is environmentally friendly. They may not be as well insulated in those historic buildings, but the way that they're designed with eaves that go out that protect the building from sunlight, that give you breezes through big doorways, lots of screen porches, you know, in those earlier houses, lots of light, lots of windows, so you let a lot of light in. Those are environmentally friendly features, and we want to repeat those in some of the new buildings, in all the new buildings. Next slide. I think of Jekyll as a gateway island. You know, now what that means to me is that what a great logical place for the Georgia citizen, for anybody to go to the coast and begin to learn about the barrier islands of Georgia. What a great educational destination. A very logical place to do that. It's one of only 3 islands you can drive onto that are barrier islands. One, of course, is Tybee, the other is St. Simons, the other is Jekyll. Well, we know about Tybee and St. Simons. You know, they're not the great environmental destinations they used to be. Jekyll, by law, because 65% of it's going to be protected from now on, you know, what a great place to do educational types of programs. There are a lot of educational programs that go on in Jekyll today. There's a 4-H center there, some things the university does, some other folks do. Why can't we beef those things up? You know, make those some really signature places for people to go. We see this Environmental Discovery Center as being a jumping off point, a central location to begin that journey of finding and learning all kinds of things about the coast. It's a place where you can come and say, gosh, I really want to know more about marsh habitats. How do I do that? Or where do I go to get a tour? You come here and you go from there. Maybe there's a marsh interpretive center, in fact, that's located out on the marsh somewhere. Go to the turtles. I want to know about the turtles. Where do I do that? You come here first. They will tell you where to go and how to get over to the turtle rehabilitation center that's already been opened over in the historic district. Where do I go? Gosh, I want to take a kayak and put it in a creek. Where would be the best place for me to do that? You know, and have that kind of experience. What about bicycle and pedestrian pathways? All the maps for that. All that would happen in this location here.